That's very positive. We should, we only need $65,000 to reach our last year goal, which was 512. We will far exceed that, so we'll be above our last year and above our budget. So we'd only have to average $32,700 the next 2 months to hit last year's. And as you can see, we haven't had anything that low all year. The lowest is 37, so we're in good shape. And that's all, unless there's a question.
That concludes your report, Mr. Milam.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, comments, discussion with Mr. Milam? That being the case, do I hear a motion on acknowledging the July 2022 financial report, monthly, year-to-date, and sales tax?
Yes, sir. I will motion to acknowledge the July 2022 financial report, A, monthly, B, year-to-date, and C, sales tax report.
I'll go in second.
There's a motion and a second. We acknowledge the July 2022 financial report, A, monthly, B, year-to-date, and sales tax report. Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Moving on to action item D3, consideration and action to provide funding for concrete pads for the exercise stations along the walking trail and mulch for the swing and zip line areas at Memorial Park. Mr. Milo.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you can see, my comments there, just a need that we have at the parks, and we're towards the end of the year, and not only we have excess funds, we have plenty that's going to go into fund balance again. So we thought this would be a couple of good projects to get done here at the end of the year, and just be kind of more of a permanent thing for the exercise stations rather than that loose gravel that kids throw at each other anyway. And then of course the mulch is good to have, and through time I don't know where that stuff goes, blows away. Maybe kids eat it, I don't know. But every now and then we have to put more mulch back. So that's the recommendation.
How many exercise stations are there at the park, do you know?
10. And they're all, each one of them are different sizes, depending on what it is in the station.
So they're gonna be different prices, right, for each station? It's not a set price, or is it?
Yeah, they're not all the same. So, but the total is right at 20,000.
I have a question, and it's, I'll tell you who my source is. My 10-year-old son tells me that the zip line is not working because there's no chair, or I don't know what you call that handle where you slide down. I don't know if that's true. Have you seen that?
Yes, I think he removed it because of the lack of mulch, because of safety. And so we put the mulch in, we'll get it back going.
Okay, so he was right.
Yes. He is
lost
right.
that
He
one.
is correct.
I have a question. Is it safe for kids? Kids are swinging all over the place and getting hurt. Is it mainly safe for kids, or?
For the mulch, yes. The exercise stations, they're different, so the concrete will be fine.
But the zip line, real zip line, where you get up and hold on and you fly across whatever area you're crossing.
Yes, once the mulch is there, yeah, it's been there for quite a long time, and haven't had any problems. But it does need mulch, because it's not a mulch like you put in your flower gardens. It's a different that provides more of a cushion when the kids fall off.
So it doesn't need extra personnel to operate it? I mean, it doesn't need somebody to hook you up and then somebody to catch you at the end?
No,
It's existing, just
It's not gonna take you across the Resaca or anything, right?
No, it's kid-friendly. It's, I guess, kids 10, 8, 10 years old, maybe younger even.
So
Okay,
is this 20 for the top one and 25 for the bottom?
Yes,
So there's a total of 45, right?
45 total, yes, sir.
any further questions, comments, discussion on item number 3? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to provide funding for the concrete pad for the exercise station along the walking trail and mulch for the swing and zip line area in the Memorial Park.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to provide funding for the concrete pads for the exercise stations along the walking trail and mulch for the swing and zip line areas at Memorial Park. Mr. Mylum has indicated it won't go over 25,000. Total. 45, I'm sorry. So, any further questions, comments, discussion?
I have one more question. Is this gonna provide us a mulch, let's say, for how long is this gonna last? For a year? Like when it runs out, we have extra to go fill in, or is just a one-time do it?
It's a
wait till the next
one-time,
year?
but it should last for, I'm trying to think when we put that zip line in, probably 7 years ago or 8 years ago, so it lasts quite a long time.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, unanimous. Item under D4, consideration and action to approve fiscal year 2022, 2023 budget. Mr. Malum.
My notes are on 19 and then part on, a little bit on 20. The actual budget listing is on page 21, if you'll get to that. We'll just go down the list. Interest, we are going to receive more interest, as y'all know. Interest rates are going up. It's bad if you're borrowing money, but if you're putting money in a bank for interest, you get more. So in this case, we get more. We're not borrowing any money, so they'll give us more for our money sitting there. So not a big chunk, but hey, a few dollars helps. Sales taxes, you can see last year we hit 518,583. We budgeted 510. We're going to probably hit 540, and so we're doing a modest increase to 560. That's only a 3.7% increase, but if you remember, we visited a little bit last time about the economy. We don't know really what that's going to bring. I don't see that we would be worse than that, but I think we'll be better. But I would rather this time of year, us next year, talk about, hey, we got some extra funds, we can do something with it, or put it in fund balance, rather than come to you and say, hey, we couldn't meet our budget. So that's my recommendation, is the 560. So then you see, the rest of it, hinges off of that revenue amount. The salaries, this year we had a budget of 15,480. We won't quite meet that. On your paper, it says 12,480, but that should have been 15,480, because we do the 12,480 for the part-time help, and then we had put last year, if you'll remember, $3,000 to help in special projects where we have a project that we're working on and we need a little bit of extra help besides the one person, that we can utilize that throughout the year. And so that would change to, instead of 12,480, that's 15,480. The expenses there, salary, FICA, Medicare, that's used calculation, so they'll be pretty close there. Attorney, we always put $500. We haven't used one, and we stay out of trouble, so I don't expect to to have that, but we put it there in case a contract needs to be reviewed or something. Auditor, it's additional $25 this year. Everything's going up, so that's $6,000. Professional services is the help that Desi provides, and if you'll remember, we went up last year, so we can stay steady this year and not change that, so that doesn't change. The business recruitment and development, as mentioned in with the minutes, went from 12,000 to 15. You had approved that last meeting, so that 15,000 reflects that change. Office supplies, they're always between 2,500, 3,000 to 5,500, depending on what we send out and mail out. City promotion is 48,000, and then advertising 8,000. You add those two together, it's 56,000, which is 10% of our revenue. And so that's kind of a guide that we put. You say, what does promotion make up of? The things that you approved last week are in there, as well as the Easter celebration for $1,000, Independence Day celebration $1,000, October festival $1,000, and Christmas in the park and parade for $1,000. Rodeo you approved last meeting, $12,500. Stock show $9,000. Conjunto festival $5,000. Cowboy cook-off $2,500. Little League last year you had done $5,000, so I left it at $5,000. You can visit that at that time. Fireworks, we've always done $5,000, and so that totals $43,000. Gives us a cushion of $5,000, so gives you some play room for other requests that could come up through the year. Don't know of any, but you never know. If it doesn't come, well, then you can put it in fund balance for something else. The advertising is some of the things you'll see that the ladies will do for Desi's presentation, where we advertise and promote different the city, the nature park, maybe the rodeo, stock show, Conjunto festival, some of those things. So sometimes we utilize all of it, and sometimes we don't. Travel seminars, I have to go to a conference every 2 years, so we keep money in for that. Dues and memberships to be part of a member of the Economic Development Organization. Special projects, I'm going to skip that for a minute and go on down. Insurance, it's $236 last year, and that's to protect you guys. If someone decided to sue you for something, there is a policy that protects you. It's not very much, so they realize your liability is not very high, but that's good because it protects you, and you don't have to worry about that as you serve as a volunteer. The next line, the transfer out, as you'll see, it's zero, but projected, it's $132,076. That was the amount that you approved to help fund the hike and bike trail to finish it. The city funded a like amount and then plus some, and then there was grants of about $700,000 in addition to that money. So the trail's basically complete. They've got some items to finish up, but that's what that $132,000 we've paid out for that. The business incentive program, I told you I would address that in budget. We're projecting with the ones that you've approved already. We've talked to each one, and the ones that will get funded before the end of September will end up totaling $39,149. That's the ones that you've already approved. So we'll get those paid out. For next year, there's a few, like the one last month that you approved, and a couple of them. Abby's Bakery, I think, is another one that Jackie talked to them, and is still under construction, so they haven't finalize it, so they haven't submitted the paperwork. So we upped it to 30,000 to include a couple of those old ones that will actually get paid for out of next budget year, and then have some for the current year ones. Overhead transfer to general fund, that was set up back in the 90s, just $15,000 that goes to the city for finance support, my support, I guess, Jackie's support. We've never increased that. It's not a big deal. We're all on the same team, so not sure why that was done that way. Transferred debt service to INS, if you'll recall, the board has agreed to fund 3 projects. One of them will end in 2025, was a street project. It's 20,000, so that goes away. The next one is another street project for 25. And then you had some water and sewer upgrades along the business corridor that you agreed to fund for 6 years. This will be year 3, and it went up $10,288. That's just the payment for it. And we had a schedule that y'all approved at that time. It goes 2 years at one amount, 2 years at another amount, and then the last 2 years at another amount, another $6,000 or $8,000 up. So, but I think in that year, the other will drop off, so it'll go down. So that's what that transferred debt service reflects. It's been 83. Like you say, it goes up to 10,288 to 93,288. Then we bump back up to special projects, because we leave that as that's something that would come up during the year that y'all would want to fund, or another project that we have over here that I'll talk about in a minute. But because we took the 3,000 from the 12 to 480 on the salaries, remember we went from 12 to 15, that should be, instead of 282, it's 279, 876. So if you'll put that in your notes, 279, 876. What I propose in page 19, if you'll look at your notes there under special projects, leaves a healthy amount of 279, 876, as we just mentioned, for projects to come up during the year. We propose to set aside some of that now. Nature project of $50,000 to include a small shed to store seed, tools, wagons to haul things, plant supplies, since we didn't do it this year. Y'all had approved that last year, but we did some plants, but we didn't do the shed, didn't do the wagon and get that. So we would like to just move that into this year and get that done this year. Little League concession stand, several years ago that was knocked down. They were making do with a little old building, and we would like to put another one up. And I've got a guy that's willing to, has done some preliminary stuff on the design to where it's easily manageable, and you open up and it'll be nice for them. So that'd be $40,000. Then 2 upgrades for the girls softball, $7,500 to do irrigation there. If you'll recall, we did that on the other field 2 years ago. If you haven't been by there, it looks awesome, still looks awesome. They did a good job. And then because it's a softball field, the infield becomes red clay. And so they want to work that up and level it properly and use it as a girls softball instead of having the other ones mess it up. That would be a total of $105,500. It still leaves $177,376 for items that you come up during the year. So I would like that to be a approval for those things in this budget. So come October, we can start working on those. I did mention that some other needs, but we don't want to address those yet. We call what we call the tropical field. It's the one behind Lopez Riggins. It needs some fencing. The fencing was really put in the wrong place. It needs to be moved back for and Daniel, you might know, has to do with the age group and the room behind home plate and the way it fans out some way is not to code. And so like this year, they were able to do all-stars for the other fields, but they couldn't do that age group because the field doesn't meet the to the backstop, and then there's home plate to outfield anyway. We can fix that with some fencing. Then there's, if you'll recall, when we did all of this work on the main field, which is, it's really right behind where you got the skate park, the basketball, and then that field. That's kind of the big field, the main field. Put some permanent bleachers up sometime. We don't have the money to do it, or we have the money to do it, but I don't want to use it because of the Veterans Memorial Project. Want to wait on that. We can make another year where we're at. And plus, I think it's too expensive. It's $200,000. They want all of this concrete and shade, and but what it would do is it would wrap around and it'd be a permanent bleacher like you find at a football stadium, which is much nicer than what's there. Like I say, I'm not proposing those two items on this budget. I just wanted you to be aware of it. The other pending need is funding for Veterans Memorial, but the engineer still has not got an estimate. He's having real trouble with getting comparable because there's so many items in that are very unique. And so bidding, what they usually use is bid items from a recent project. When you don't have a recent project like that, they're having to do some serious research on it. So hopefully another month we'll have it, and then we can decide if CDC can fund part, city can fund part, or we need to go for donations. It'll just depend on what that number is. So those last are all just to keep in your mind. The first ones we would like to do, the nature park, concession stand, irrigation, and the red clay. I did put in there that last sentence of that special projects paragraph. We will have an excess funds this year of about $75,000. Actually, it's trending maybe more like 100, but I'm conservative, 75. So if you add that to our fund balance of 380 already, we'll have a fund balance of 455. So we have a good, healthy fund balance. So if we want to fund something after we get that number from Veterans Memorial, we can get it. Or if a business comes that says, hey, I need you to get gas to my business or electricity to my business to help us, and you see that it's a worthy project, you can do that. So we've got plenty of excess funds. So, sorry I talked a lot, but I wanted to cover everything and also put in your mind the needs that are there. But I think the stuff for the Little League is pretty cool. You know, when they came and said that they had 400 and they ended up way more than that. There's a lot of kids for this community. Keeping them busy off the street.
I conclude your report, Mr. Milo.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make some comments on, about the Little League. Had the opportunity to travel with my grandkid to Houston for the annual baseball tournament. We went to Clear Lake, and we also went to LaPorte. We got rained out in Clear Lake, and those guys had everything organized that they quickly moved us over to LaPorte. What I want to say is I was really impressed with the facilities. The grounds were well kept. They had their equipment. They had their own tractor. As soon as the game was over, the tractor came out and went over the fields and cleaned them out, prepared them, got them ready for the next game. And they also have the shades. As you know, it was really, really hot. It was hotter than it was down here in the valley, but the shade helped us out. I mean, it didn't completely get rid of the heat, but it helped us out a little bit, and I was really impressed. And I just want to say that I feel that Little League parks is a pride and joy of those towns around Houston. Because all those parks that were there, they were all really nicely kept. The fields were really nice, organized, the lines, everything. All the umpires are all professional about it. And as I look forward to this meeting, I was kind of like getting real puffy because I know that I don't see that around here, but reading this, the minutes, I'm happy that in the future we'll be able to say, hey, come and play over in Los Fresnos, man. We got some real nice, decent parks. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll add comments. When the All-Stars came here, it's the kids from all over this area, a lot of very positive on the field, the fencing and all that work that was done. The complaints were concession stand and the shade. It's pretty hot, so that's why it's there. So there's some really good stuff there, but the rest of it was good.
That concluded the report, Mr. Martin. Do I hear, is there any further questions, comments, discussion on the 2022-2023 budget? That being the case, do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to motion to approve the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget as presented.
I second.
There's a motion and a double second that we approve the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 budget. Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Moving on to item E, report by CDC Consultant 1, CDC Consultant Report, July 2022, Economic Development, Community Development, Housing Rehabilitation, and Affordable Housing, and D, Events and Community Promotion. Mr. Milo?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jennifer and Bianca, are you going to do it, or Jennifer? Are going to present the information for Desi in his absence, so take off.
Here, here, very good.
Is it on? I think so. Okay. Here is the July 2022 report by Mr. Desi Martinez. So we'll begin with economic development. He has been working with a foam and plastics manufacturer out of Houston. A second food drive-in franchise is working on plans and will be underway soon and open within the next year. And the LFCDC office has been doing research on other sign, land, and storefront matching grant programs. Now moving, yes.
Before she moves on to that, just wanted to mention the plastics manufacturer. We had a very good meeting. Val was there, and don't know where that leads, but it could lead to a pretty cool 60 jobs and up to 60 jobs in the first wave, I guess. And if things go well, they're looking here because of cost of doing business better here than somewhere else, and better labor force to be able to do their work. So we're hopeful that that'll pan out. So it was a very good meeting. Go ahead.
Continuing on with community development, the painting and gutters and downspouts at the library were completed, so coordination continues with Public Works on other library improvements. The LFCDC staff, librarian, and workforce solutions have met and are working jointly to upgrade workforce and job search services. Now for the affordable housing. This was the flyer I just handed out to you all. The LFCDC and Chamber continue to promote the USDA Home Repairs Program for elderly ages 62 and over, and they can be eligible for up to $10,000 grants. And lastly, for the events and community promotions, we have been working on displays and other promotional activities to attract more members and visitors to the city. So in the pamphlets, I believe you already have, here are some examples of displays we have been working on with LF News.
That's on page 24, 25 of your handout, and it's just one of those promotional things that we're doing, trying to gain more interest in our library, the cook-off, and then we'll follow that right behind with the Conjunto Festival for promotion of that. Hopefully, and get people in town to come to these events and spend their money at our businesses.
And that concludes Mr. Desi Martinez's July 2022 report.
Very good. Way to get your feet wet.
How are these being distributed?
I don't know if you all have seen the one up front, like that big nature park one. So they're supposed to be like, I'm not sure the exact measurements, but they're these very big displays. And I'm not exactly sure where the location will be, but I think it's just one display per event.
I think we can make them into flyers too, though. I think we can make them into flyers as well. I think it'd be good to distribute.
That concludes your report.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. I'm moving on to item F, report by general manager. Under 1A, infrastructure report, caution lights, and B, Veterans Memorial. Mr. Mylum.
The caution lights are up. I haven't noticed them. I talked to Gene. He says, well, the motors don't notice them either much. They turn them on, and so I'm anxious to see them on and see if we need to do something to assist that. But they are working. They have a remote control in their units, EMS units or fire units as they come out. So we'll see how that works. So the project's done, complete. We'll see how, we'll probably try to get PD to respond at least some of the time to maybe get them to notice those lights.
Are there any type of signs that they could put up, or does it have to go to TxDOT for approval, like, lights, yellow lights flashing, or?
Yeah, TxDOT has to approve, but we might be able to do something to help. And the Veterans Memorial I mentioned in the budget is having trouble getting a price estimate, and we want to be. It is not 100% accurate, but we want to be close so that you can go find the money. You don't want to be too low and then bid it out and you go, oh, we ain't got that money, we can't do it, and be disappointed. Or you don't want to be too high, and I guess that doesn't happen very often to it. Anyway, hopefully next month we can have something. He's working on it.
That concludes your report, Mr. Mylum.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item G, committee reports and actions as may be appropriate. All these committees will take the short route. Anybody have anything to report, discuss, comment?
No, sir.
No, sir.
That being the case, Ms. Jackie, you weren't here last meeting, but we requested that when you give us the items, put a page number so we won't be going shuffling back and forth. It's just a friendly reminder. That being the case, item H, meeting adjourned.